I haven't posted for a while because I've been really low, really quite flat, really intensely low. So I can identify probably with a lot of people out there. It's something I've lived with for years and years and years. But obviously, as life goes on and we realise that life is flipping hard and it throws lots of shit at you, it's really hard to deal with. And I think I've been intensely feeling grief and mourning for my son, and I want to rekindle that optimism, if you like, but more than that, it's not just a hope for a more positive future, but it's the hope and faith that actually nothing takes God by surprise, and where we are right now, even in the midst of suffering, and in fact especially in the midst of suffering, I can be close to God and have that strength to believe and carry on. And it's borne out by what Jesus said in the Beatitudes, the blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are those who suffer, etc., etc. Because actually, when things happen, when we're in this space where, why are you doing this, Lord? Actually, what else have we got to distract us from actually being in God? And I had this feeling, because it was so dark and it felt so dark, and I felt like I wasn't connected to God, therefore not close to Josh. And it felt like there was this massive black curtain around me, but particularly like one side of me. And in that darkness, it was as light for God and for Josh, because that's where he dwells. And it was as though I had to just know that he was there. And there is one of the parts of the Gospel of Philip says that for the blind man and the man that sees, darkness is the same. But when they move into the light, the one who can see sees, but the blind man can't. Now, if you think about that, think about like me being maybe the one that sees, and I'm taking a friend who can't see, and we're in the dark, both of us are in the dark, we move into the light, that person can't see, but I can see. And what I believe that parable is saying is, if you can see, if you can use the eyes of your heart to see and feel and know the presence of God, then it doesn't matter how dark that is. Because when you move into the light, you will see. So actually we can see in the darkness, we can have that hope in the darkness, because when those times of faith come back and we can feel, then we know. We know that when we've not suddenly had our sight removed, we just know that at the moment it is dark. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but it did to me. And I did draw a little picture I'm going to hold up, probably quite bad, but it kind of shows like everyday life, which is represented by trees, then that black curtain, and as you pass through it, you begin to enter into and have faith in the darkness for the time that you can see in the light. And I've drawn myself holding hands with a person in the light. So Psalm 147 verse 13 I've put at the bottom. For he has strengthened and made hard the bars of your gates, and he has blessed your children within you. For he has strengthened and made hard the bars of your gates, and he has blessed your children within you. And that unseen, that reality, that He does, if you go on in Psalm 100, or go back in Psalm 147 to verse 3, it says, he heals the brokenhearted and he binds up their wounds, curing their pains and their sorrows. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds, curing their pains and their sorrows. You know, I believe that it doesn't matter how dark it is. It doesn't matter how, think of the devastation of the people at Gaza. There isn't anyone that hasn't lost somebody. Whole communities, hundreds of thousands of people have died. And, how can we hope for any light in situations like that? However, if we see the other side of it, if we see beyond death, if we see beyond the illness and the end that we're suffering at the moment, then we have those eyes to see that actually everything here is temporal, it's not going to last long anyway, and that what we have and the power of what we have in the future is just so amazing and dynamic. And so amazing and dynamic are you, am I, if we can live in the reality of that dynamism now. But if we can offer hope to people, if we can do more than heal them. The people that came to Jesus to be healed, some of them went away and didn't come back and thank him, like the 12 lepers, because all they wanted was to be healed. That was it. They weren't bothered anymore, And if God was to, why, if there was a God, why isn't he healing everybody? Well, because that's not actually what they need, What we need in life is to have that peace and that joy and that communion with God. And that is the most important thing. And when we've found that, we're the people with our eyes open. We're not the blind people. And no matter what happens, not the whole of the mountains could crumble around me, the house could fall down. Sometimes I think it is when a lorry goes by. But, we have that, I have that faith in God. It really doesn't matter. And so that's the faith that carried me through, particularly those early days when Josh died. But I'm having to lean on it long and hard now when I pick up his children, and my heart breaks because they're going to have so many more years of not knowing him. I'm going to get to see him long before they do. It is actually heartbreaking, but God knows best, and I just trust that. I just know that, and I just trust that. Anyway, take heart, because even though it might be dark right now, have your eyes open. The light is coming. You are in touch with the light even though you can't see it.